the Dr. Jaime Show. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I am so happy that you are here with me. This is truly the best day of the week. Not only is it the Dr. Jaime Show, but we have the most amazing guests on this show, and it's Friday. It is awesome because the weekend is just moments away. This is your 1 hour per week that you get to yourself. You get to learn tips and tricks and different things that you can take into your life to help you be more healthy, successful, savvy, sexy, feeling good in your own skin. So I am so happy that you are joining the Dr. Jaime Show today. We have an amazing guest. We have Shawn Rhodes, TedX speaker and author, right here in the background. You can't see him, but I can see him. I'm so thrilled that he's here. And he recently wrote a book called Pivot Point. So we are going to learn a little bit about Pivot Point, but also the pivot points in his life and what he did to manage those pivot points. And of course, we have to know, what does it take to truly become a TEDx speaker? We're going to find out what it takes today. So a little bit of admin before we bring out Shawn. Okay, so next week we're having a gentleman on the show named Steve Fidrich. He overcame depression, and we are going to talk about his journey in overcoming depression after a tragic accident that he faced. This is going to be a great show for those of you struggling with depression, but at the same time, for those of you that don't understand depression, that don't understand how someone can become depressed. So you're going to learn a lot from Steve next Friday. So the following Friday, I can't believe it, am I reading it right? It's February 3rd. It's already going to be February. It is. So February 3rd, we're having Sarah Krieger on the show. She is a nutritionist. She's going to talk to us about diets that don't work. Should we even be on a diet? Make sure that we're already staying in line and not slipping off our 2017 goals when it comes to nutrition. We're going to learn about on-the-go foods, right? We are like so go and rush every day. And a lot of us kind of sneak and do a lot of fast food on the go. What can we do to be a little bit more healthier? We know that eating right boosts your mood. I've told you that 100 times. So she is going to give us some nutrition secrets. And then on the 10th, we're having CJ Burnett here, and he is going to talk about all things money and finance with us. Now, we are not going to do math, so you don't have to worry about that. I made that very clear to him. We don't do math. But he is going to tell us how to save, or where we can cut out, or where we should add to, or things that we think are going to make us money, or things that we think we're doing good at with our money, but maybe we're not. So there's some secrets he's going to share with us. And then on the 17th, we are having Dwayne Spires here. I like to call him the entrepreneurial guru, the success guru. And he is going to talk to us about all things success, how to overcome barriers and hurdles, some of the hurdles that he's faced, but how he has achieved such amazingness in his life. Okay, and then the moment you've been waiting for. So who is the guest on the 24th? I told you that I wanted to share with you. We have in the pipeline, so it's like 95% sure. So we're having a man named Charles on the show, and he works for Simone Salsa. So why is that amazing? One, we're going to learn about how dance impacts the mind and the body. But he is going to teach me a few dance steps live on the show. Hopefully Big Chat will go down right as, and Facebook Live somehow, all of Facebook goes. I might, what do they say? You break the internet? I might end up breaking the internet and shutting everything down as you watch me dance. So I'm hoping that February 24th takes a long time to come to. But after you watch me fall on my ASS in front of everyone and you laugh hysterically, we are hoping that he is going to bring his dance partner and show you how to really salsa right here on the 24th, right here. So we'll move the chairs and that's what we're gonna do. So, okay, anyways, the last thing I wanna talk to you about is the Alliance program. So many of you know that all of the things that I do with coaching clients and followers is set goals, right? We set goals, how to platform them forward, but I can't help them with all of the little milestones in between. I help set those goals, but if they want to create a website, I can't do that for them. If they want to do something with opening a bank account, I can't do that for them. So people would ask me, do you know a great photographer? Do you know a great web designer? Do you know a great dentist? No, or if I did, I would just refer out. But now I said, why don't I have a hub on my website? Dr. Jaime Alliance, people I know, people I trust, people I've interviewed, and have them in a hub on my website. So when you say, Jaime, do you know a photographer? Absolutely, I do. Go to drjaimek.com, click on the Alliance tab, click on photography, and you will see a list of photographers who we trust, we know, we like. So that is up and running. If you want to see if your business qualifies for the Alliance program, just go to email me at dr@drjaimek.com, and we'll send you some steps, and you got to do an interview, and you got to do the whole thing, because we have to trust you to be able to be in the Alliance program. Okay, I'll shut up. I know what you've been waiting for. You've been waiting for TEDx speaker and author Shawn Rhodes, and he is here, so come on out. Yes. See, I need music, right? Don't you feel like I need some kind of...
Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thanks.
Welcome. Yeah.
Good to
Okay.
be
Good.
here.
Yeah. So we are so excited that you are here today. Before we begin the show, so everyone that watches the show knows that the guest of the day needs to talk about something bizarre or weird that nobody knows about you. And then we'll get into like, oh, what you're good at and what you do. Okay, I always want to know what is bizarre and weird. So tell us a little bit about something bizarre or weird that not many people know about you.
Sure. Well, I was raised in the mountains of western North Carolina, and aside from drag racing and running around in the woods trying to shoot stuff, I was never a very good shot. Something that not a lot of people know about me is I actually got proficient at making moonshine.
Wow! And did you bring some for us today?
After the show.
After the show, we're doing moonshine, so anyone can come over and do moonshine shots with us. Excellent! How awesome! So most of you already know this. I say it every week, so you're hitting your heads against the wall. But for those of you that just joined the Dr. Jaime Show for the very first time, something weird and bizarre about me is I have to, since I was little, wear tall soccer socks to bed. So I pull, and then like in the night, if they slip down, I like wake up out of a dead sleep and pull them up. So definitely not as cool as moonshine, but maybe coming close.
Not as dangerous.
Not as dangerous. Not as dangerous. Okay, awesome. So, all right. So before we go into a little bit about your book and being a TEDx speaker, it's very important that the viewers know who they're getting their information from. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, so they know who we're talking to today?
So I'm an international expert in helping companies increase performance and profitability. And that looks a little different for each company that I work with, but I had the opportunity to study the most high-performing teams around the world, more than 24 countries, on site. And so I bring those same character traits, those processes, those performance metrics into organizations so that they can reach those goals as well.
Excellent, excellent. And so are you married?
I am. I'm married. I've been married 3 years. My wife is a kindergarten teacher here in Tampa, Florida. And I have a dog that gets treated like a child.
Ah, excellent, excellent. And I have 2 children that act like dogs, so they're running around all the time.
Nice.
Okay, very good. All right, so we're going to go into the interview, but first I want you to go ahead and tell me if you agree or disagree with this quote and why. So most of you know out there, I'll always put a quote on the board, and on the spot they need to talk about if they agree or disagree with the quote. So today's quote: it's much easier to be convincing if you care about your topic. Figure out what's important to you about your message and speak from the heart. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I couldn't agree with that more.
Okay.
The TEDx talk that I did was actually titled How to Turn Missions into Movements. And that quote speaks to that very well. I find that if somebody is passionate about their topic, whether they are a PhD in it like you are, or whether they have just had some experience in life about it, if they're passionate, they're convincing, they can actually make change in an organization, in a community, or in the world.
Nice, excellent, excellent. I love it. I have to agree with that quote as well. And some of the things that we'll talk about a little bit later is you have to be confident in your message too, and that will help you spread your message much more effectively. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, we're gonna jump right in. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you guys ready? Okay. All right. So tell us a little bit about your background. So I know you were in the military. You wrote a book. You're on TEDx. Tell us a little bit about how this all got started for you.
Well, I'm sure if you're old enough, you remember the recruiting commercials for the Marine Corps where they were fighting dragons.
Yes.
I was qualified to do that, I thought.
Yeah, right, because, yes, my son fights dragons.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So I grew up wanting to fight dragons. When I saw it on TV, I thought, finally somebody's going to pay me to do this.
Yes! I love that.
Yeah, so I went into the recruiter's office, and it's hard to describe at the time, but I looked a lot different than I do now. I had Birkenstock sandals on, a hemp necklace, prayer beads.
Wow!
You know, it was a different thing.
You should have dressed the part
I
today.
should have dressed
that
the part.
That would have been epic.
Yeah, I was so crunchy I put granola to shame. I really did. And so I walked in this recruiter's office, and the Marine Corps recruiter is there with his chest full of ribbons, starched shirt, you know, everything that I wanted to be and nothing that I was. Very confident. And he looked at me and he asked, you know, did you get lost on your way to a poetry reading? Because that's how you look when you walk in here. We decided that if I was going to join the Marine Corps and I was going to, you know, go around the world, do what Marines do, that the infantry was not going to be the right path for me. That they would chew me up and spit me out, especially looking like that, right?
Right.
I didn't have sandals on, or excuse me, socks under my sandals.
Yeah.
Like Florida chic is what we
Right.
call it here.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah, Florida chic. So
Did you bring your dragon?
I did. The dragon's in the car.
The dragon's
yeah,
in the car.
I cracked the window though, so it's okay. Yeah. So what I discovered was there's actually a group of men and women in the Marine Corps who are not only tasked with fighting alongside Marines, doing what Marines do, but actually studying them and sharing those stories with the world. And that's what I ended up doing for the Marine Corps.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, and so then how did it evolve into what you're doing now?
Well, I realized that as I ran around the world with Marines, they were in the most challenging environments on the planet with the toughest competition. I mean, people that literally wanted to kill them, right?
Yeah.
And so I found that their key to survival was actually thinking ahead, planning in a certain way, performing at a high level, and then continuously improving. Now, for organizations, for companies, even if you run a small business, no one's going to kill you probably if you don't make that goal, make that sale, whatever it is, but it will cost you profitability.
Yes.
And so I discovered that organizations...
Which can kill the business.
Oh, it can kill the business quickly. So I discovered that these same things were absolutely applicable in organizations from entrepreneurs all the way up to Fortune 100 companies. So I've had the opportunity to work with.
Excellent. I love it. Okay, very good. So, so going back to the military for a second, what are some things that you learned in the military that you can share with the viewers that they can actually take into any profession to be successful? What are some of the things that you learned?
Absolutely. Well, I found that most professions, first off, have a very simple model for how they actually get the job done.
Okay.
They plan, however that looks. Maybe it's a whiteboard, maybe it's a strategy session, and then they tell their people, here's our goal, go out there and make it happen. So plan, perform, and that just goes over and over and over.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it costs organizations a lot of money to do business that way. Whether you're an entrepreneur working for yourself on the computer, or whether you're, running in a big company. Okay. What actually happened was, and the Harvard Business Review studied this, something of 197 of the largest companies in the world, something they were missing was about 37% of their projected profitability. Now that's kind of a weird term, so I'll try to break it down for you.
Yes, because we don't do math on
we don't do math. So at the beginning of the year, they say, we want to make $100 million in profit. What they discovered was, in studying these organizations over a period of time, they were only hitting 63% of that number. And they considered it a success because they were still profitable, there was still money in the bank. But they were leaving so much money on the table. Well, what the military figured out was, if they were only 63% successful, a lot of people weren't coming home, and that was unacceptable to them. So we have to figure out a different way to do business than just plan, perform, plan, perform. What they actually did was built another part into that model, and that's actually processing what happened.
Okay.
They plan in a way that allows them to address the resources and threats and lessons learned that people need to experience and get in their heads and out of their heads, so everybody can share the information, have accountable courses of action, and whether you're a business owner for yourself, you've got a time management system, or if you're part of an organization, who's responsible for doing what by when on your team, and then performing at a high level. But the most important part, probably, I learned from the military and the Marine Corps, is no matter how beat up or bloody we were after a mission, we would get together in an after-action setting. And we'd figure out what went right, what went wrong, what can we do better next time, and how do we share that information as quickly as possible so the next group that goes out and does something similar doesn't have to learn the lessons the hard way.
I love that. I love that. So as a business owner myself, and I'm sure so many of you, even if you're not a business owner, you could be a student in school. If you failed something, if you didn't succeed at something, if you're only running at 63% at something, to look back and have almost like a clarity break. We were talking about clarity breaks. Sit back and say, okay, where did I go wrong? What could I fix? Where were the mistakes that we can change and edit? Use it as like a stepping stone or learning from it, right? We've talked about this before. One of the worst things that you can do is harp and ruminate on the mistakes that you've made. That is going to hold you back in that one place. Instead, take responsibility for some of it, even if there's outside factors, right? So often we blame, oh, we can't control that it was this, or it was a holiday, or it was rainy, or they're not understanding me, and we put it off on the world. I know it's hard to take that control back, but take that control and responsibility, and then you have the ability to change that, and use it as a stepping stone to grow. So any of you out there right now that kind of feel like you're really stagnant or really stuck, how can you take control back and take a clarity break, or what did they call it?
After action report.
An after action report, I'm gonna remember that. You know, and kind of assess, what can I do differently? We're at the start of the year still. Where were your hiccups in 2016? How can you change them and edit them to move forward much more strongly in 2017? Excellent, okay, very good. So, okay, was there anything else in the Marines that you learned that you would want to share? Did you, anything, maybe it's any soft skills, anything with patience or learning how to communicate or listening better? Was there any soft skills the military taught you at all?
They taught me to be hyper aware of the resources I had available to me.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a small business owner myself. I run my own shop, even though I work with some of the largest organizations on the planet. And so I don't have a marketing team to go out there and do things for me. I have to figure out, how can I do the best with what I have currently?
Yes.
And the Marine Corps is so good at this that they actually have a mythology built in behind how we get resources.
Okay.
And so it's kind of hard for people to see, but this pin on my lapel is an eagle, globe, and anchor. It's the symbol for the Marine Corps. And there's even a story about how this came into being that kind of accentuates what I'm talking about.
Are we going to hear it?
We're going to hear it?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Good stories, right?
Okay.
So you get to picture yourself in Marine Corps boot camp, Paris Island.
Okay.
It's South Carolina, swamp everywhere around you.
Oh, this isn't.
Oh, it's a horrible situation.
Okay, I'm thinking beachfront,
Oh,
sailboats,
no.
cabana boys. No.
They picked the armpit of America, and that's where they put Marines to train them. And so we'd sit around our drill instructors, the men in the big green hats, very mean people, and they would tell us these stories of the Marine Corps. And this one we knew wasn't true, but we got the point behind it. How did the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor come about, and how can we learn from that in order to make sure that we always have the right resources we need to be successful, even in the military or as business owners, whatever that may be. And so the story is, the Air Force was parking their jets on a runway, and they went out to the Hilton to get some sleep, because that's how the Air Force rolls. They're very nice people. We stole the Eagle off of one of their airplanes. That's how we got that.
Oh.
Yeah, it's okay. The Navy, the Uber of the ocean, especially for Marine Corps.
Uber, they had Uber back then.
Yeah, they had Uber back then.
Uber back then.
They give us rides everywhere. We love them. They left one of their anchors sitting around, so we picked that up and carried it off. The Army has more supplies than anyone else. They have all the great gear. You normally in the Marine Corps just get stuff secondhand from the Army. But they had a piece of rope. So we took the rope, and there's a rope going around the anchor and the globe, if you've ever seen that symbol for the Marine Corps.
Listen, I appreciate the military, but is that stealing?
We'll get to
So
that.
I think we're getting there, okay.
We're going to get to that. Now, the globe, the Eagle, globe, and anchor, right? That's the best part. I'll wait for you to take your drink, because I don't want stuff shooting out of your nose.
Right at my guest.
Right at the guest, yeah. So on the seventh day, so the story goes, God rested. On that day, Marines overran his perimeter and captured the globe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You mean God.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, we lack for everything but ego in the Marine Corps.
I love it. So
Yeah.
they're thieves and they're stronger than God.
And they're stronger than God.
Wow.
Now, you mentioned the word STEAL. So in the military, full of acronyms, right?
Okay, yes.
So we even have an acronym for the word STEAL.
Okay.
And it is to strategically take equipment to alternate locations.
Wow.
STEAL.
That's nice. So I'm gonna go into like Nordstrom today, and I'm gonna be like, these shoes, I'm gonna strategically place them on my feet and walk out of here.
Hide them.
This is part of
good.
the military.
Yeah, it's what they do to
That's
survive.
what I learned this
Yeah,
from.
and so to get back to your original question, they taught me to do the most with what I had available to me.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent, excellent. I love it. Okay, very good. Using resources.
Mm-hmm.
That has been a common theme with every single guest we have had since the very first one up until Shawn today. Using your resources, using your supports, finding mentors. Like, so you don't get any badge of honor for doing it by yourself. So if you feel like, no, I can just do it myself. No, I've always done it myself. I'm always going to do it myself. That is not going to platform you. You need to see your resources and use them. You need to see the people around you that want to help you, support groups, community resources, and use them. Every single person that has moved up a level, and correct me if I'm wrong here for you, but you've had some type of resource or support to leverage you up. You know, I got rid of that mindset years ago. I can just do it all by myself. I can't. I cannot run these businesses by myself. I can't do the show by myself. I can't parent sometimes by myself. I need help with it. And so you have to find resources, even if they're in your community, to be able to leverage yourself up. So use those resources. Never be afraid to ask for help. Asking for help will leverage you, if anything.
And there are always resources there, no matter what it is you're trying to accomplish. The internet didn't exist, you know, like we know it 30 years ago. And I go there when I have a question first, as I'm sure many of us do, especially when I'm in an argument with my wife. We'll see about this. What does Google have to say?
Siri, excuse me. The wife is yelling at me. Is she right?
Is she right?
No.
Always. Siri knows.
Oh, yes, Siri knows.
Yeah, Siri
she
knows.
is always right. Just drop the mic and walk away.
Let it go.
Let it go. I love it. Okay, so happy wife, happy life is the way that we'll round out this section. Okay, all right, very good. Okay, so speaking of being successful, you recently wrote a book, Pivot Point. I hope that everybody can see it. Go to Amazon, support Shawn, and purchase a copy of his newest book, Pivot Point. So how did you get the idea to write the book? Tell us a little bit about what's going on in the book.
Well, like a lot of entrepreneurs, I struggled to find what my real value proposition was to my client. For many years, I struggled. And I realized that the number one thing that I allowed organizations to do by bringing these processes and these new mindsets into people that had never experienced them before was it allowed them to rapidly pivot. Now, why is that important? Well, change, I found, is the one thing that we really can't avoid. And no plan survives contact with the enemy is an expression we had in the military. No plan in a business survives contact with regulations, customer demands, family demands, anything else. So we're constantly all faced with change. What I discovered was if I was able to take the military's processes and help organizations and individuals better overcome change, they were able to more quickly hit their goals and make up the 37% of the profit that they were really missing out on.
Excellent, yeah. Change isn't easy, and we are now thrown into a society where change is happening all of the time, every minute. Technology, right?
And we have a new president today.
Yes. Right now, I think, right now, wow. So change is literally happening every minute, and if you don't just accept the fact that change happens all the time, and you stubbornly sit there and say, no, I'm comfortable, it's working this way, this is the way I'm going to hold it, it's going to flop. There will come a point.
In the keynotes I do, a real pithy phrase that works for this is you can either manage change or change will manage you.
Absolutely. I love that. That's great. We're going to run that quote up here one time. But that's so true, because that's the world that's changing. You can't control that. What you can do is adapt to it. You can grow from it. You probably could even bring your business to bigger heights to close that 37% gap, all by adapting to change. So business owners, you already know that, but for those of you in the corporate world especially, when new software comes into play, right? Sometimes you hear the people like, oh, why are we changing this? Or why are we doing this? I've been guilty of it. I can still be guilty of it. Or, just little things are changing, or changing in leadership, and you kind of just like, oh, and you're grumpy about it. Don't sit in your own negativity, and don't be that toxic, negative Nancy. Adapt to the change, embrace the change, because that's what happened. Now, how can you use that change to your advantage, right? Because you can use it to your advantage. Okay, so tell us a little bit about in how the chapters are broken up. I like how you talked to me about that.
Absolutely. So I found that the best way that I learn is through story. So as a professional storyteller for the military, as a speaker, as an author, I'm a syndicated columnist for the business journals. For the real business nerds out there, you can go check that out. What I discovered was I love reading Stephen Covey and Tony Robbins and the real, it's like nonfiction business type stuff. But when I learn, it's through stories, hearing about other people's experiences. So I wrote this book in a way that breaks out how the military uses a planning process, for instance, that you could use in your organizations. But it's like you're in the room with them planning for the mission. And then the next chapter is how a large organization uses that very same process to plan their strategy for a product launch. And the book is set up in chapters like that, so you can see how the military does it, how it's used in organizations, and the last section of the book is a field guide. How do I implement this for myself?
Excellent, I love it. And if you're not a business owner, if you're not a CEO, could this book be applicable to your life or to maybe where you're working? If it's in the corporate world, maybe you're the new guy at work. Can you use this book?
Well, you can answer that for me by answering another question. Do you ever encounter change?
Oh. No, never.
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 No, everything's static around me.
I guess it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Excellent. Very good. I love it. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to, I love the title of your book, Pivot Point. Can you tell us, well, you know what, where did you get the pivot point? Was it because businesses come to a point where there is change? Is that where the title came from?
It's because, can I write on your board?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to use green, so no, you're going to use black.
Black?
All right.
Yeah.
I want people to be able to see it.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right. Okay.
So, whether you're in a business or a personal relationship or anything, things are going along at a really great rate. That's a straight line, by the way, in case Jamie needs to learn how to write a straight line. At some point, performance, something changes, something drops, my wife starts yelling at me and I don't know why. There's a change in the state that I'm at. That right there is a pivot point. So we have to figure out, how do we get things back on that line, or how do we prevent that from happening in the future so that the yelling never occurs? Yeah.
That will never happen then out there. So we will always yell. But for good reason. You're wrong. You're wrong.
We're always wrong.
We're always wrong. I'm just kidding. So all the men just dropped off. They're like, forget Jamie. No, okay, excellent. So that's kind of where it came up. All right. Can you tell us maybe 2 or 3 major pivot points in your life and kind of how you managed them and got through them?
Sure. So there was one time I was asleep on the job, which is always a great place to be when you're on the job. And I woke up to see the most physically intimidating man I'd ever seen in my life standing over me. He had biceps as big as my skull. He actually had to cut his sleeves in order to roll them. That's how muscular this guy was. And he looked down at me, and his voice was like 40 pit bulls eating kittens while lifting weights. Just
wow, that's an intense...
gravelly, right? Just mean. And he said, get up, get in the truck. You have 15 minutes to live. And this guy was obviously not screened by HR when they hired him, because normally you can't talk to employees like that, right? That's usually it's bad. It's bad. But instead of handing me a pink slip or a counseling session or anything like that, there was something in his hand. So I reached up to take what he was offering me, and it was 3 hand grenades and 90 rounds of ammunition. Which is exactly how you counsel employees. Right?
Pivot point number 1.
Pivot point number 1: don't hand explosives to disgruntled employees.
Yes.
Yeah. So I take these and I'm holding them like, what am I supposed to do with this, right? And he said that a group of people that were heavily armed were on their way to us, and we had no support, no backup. We were going to have to face them, and they vastly outnumbered us. That was the pivot point in my life where I had to realize that I could either manage change, or change was going to manage me in turn.
Wow.
And through what actually ended up happening there, I realized that change was something we could plan for, because I saw the Marines around me. This didn't happen in Tampa, Florida, thank God, right? It happened in Iraq. The Marines around me were prepared for this situation. They knew where to be, when, and most importantly, to address one of the issues you had earlier, they knew what would happen if a contingency occurred. What if one of us got hurt? In a business setting, this might look like, what if I lose my key client? What if I get the phone call that my production line has shut down? What do I do in case these things happen? And that was a real turning point for me, to be able to see a well-oiled machine work like that. If everybody knew what to do, where to be, and when. So that was a real key pivot point for me, and we're dealing with change. The second one probably came when I was on another patrol with the Marines. We were in Fallujah, 2004, the Battle of Fallujah, and I was in a house at night. I was on fire watch, so I was the guy that was supposed to keep everybody safe. They were sleeping after probably 20 hours of constant fighting. And I saw tracers in the neighborhood getting closer to us. So there was a firefight moving our way. And I realized that I could no longer function in constant combat like that. A lot of veterans are dealing with this now. PTSD, a lot of just issues with how do we reintegrate ourselves after going through experiences like this. Well, I got back to the base. Thankfully, they pulled us out before the firefighter reached us. I get back to this base, and knowing that I was going to have to turn in my papers and quit, which in the Marine Corps is a very difficult process. You can't just raise your hand and say, I'm done, boss. So I get to the base, and I see that a delivery has been made by our supply line. There are pallets of books that libraries across the United States have donated to the children of Iraq. There were 2 key problems with this particular plan, though, for them. The only books the libraries wanted to give away were romantic fiction, which in a conservative Muslim culture is going to go over
Right,
really well.
there you go.
The second thing was they all had covers of Fabio, like shirtless.
Yeah.
Just going to do really,
Yeah, those
especially
are
for
good.
Marines,
You
right?
keep
Yeah.
those. Yeah, you kept them.
Love that stuff. Kept them all. Yeah, just filled my rucksack with it, just in case, right? In the middle of all of these books, though, was Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And the very first habit of highly effective people, I'm going to paraphrase it, is that we don't always have control over the things that happen to us, but we can maintain control over how we react to them.
Absolutely.
So that was a key pivot point for me. I realized that even in the midst of combat and the worst things that humans are capable of doing to each other, I could make a choice about how I interpreted it.
Mm-hmm.
I could find the good in it. I could connect with the people around me and learn their stories about their families and give people hope for getting home safely in one piece and then living lives after that.
Yep.
So that was a key pivot point for me.
I love that. There's a quote, I think maybe a Viktor Frankl quote, that talks about that, like even when you're in the worst of situations and you can't control anything, the one thing that you can, the one thing that you can control is your attitude or your reaction to something. Think about that all the time. We do not have it nearly as hard as Shawn had it on the front line of things. We don't have it hard as some of these people that went through the Holocaust, like we were just talking about. But we need to sit back and we need to say, how can we react to these situations? They're not that bad. And even if they are bad, they're probably not as bad as they could be. And these other people are getting through them. How are they getting through these tragic and tough and hard times? It's their mindset. It's what's carrying them through in that moment. Your mind is so powerful. You can get it to believe anything. So if you can use a positive attitude, that will carry you through, even on Monday mornings, bringing it down from being on the front line to Monday mornings. We've talked about this. If you think, oh, it's Monday, I got a whole week ahead of me, 5 days till the Dr. Jaime show, I just can't wait,
what am I going to do
What am I
then?
going to do? When is she going to run the show 5 days a week? For you to kind of sit back and say, how does my negative mindset today play a role until the rest of my Monday? And how will that roll into Tuesday and into Wednesday? What if you changed your mind and thought of Mondays as a fresh start and a way to start achieving your goals, and how you have 5 days of opportunity that lie in front of you? I know it might be hard for those negative Nancys out there to buy into that right now, but believe me, after you do it long enough, you start thinking, I've got a week of opportunity ahead of me. I'm going to push through. And that is so powerful. This could be the pivot point in your life. Here you go. No more yelling lies.
No more yelling lies.
Yay. Okay, and then were there any pivot points? So, right, one of the things that I'm huge on is work-life balance. So a lot of that was work, right?
Oh, yeah.
Were there any pivot points in your relationship life or your personal life for you, by any chance?
Oh, wow, that's a great question, too. Yeah, exactly. Putting me on the spot. Didn't plan for that one. When I returned home, I had to figure out, what do I do with the rest of my life? After being through all those experiences, traveling the world, what am I going to do so I still feel like I have meaning, I have purpose, I have a reason for getting up and seeing 5 days of opportunity? And I began studying something that's called post-traumatic growth.
Okay.
And so post-traumatic stress is in the news a lot, but there's a whole field of psychology that deals with how really bad experiences, Holocaust, war, all these things can actually help us grow as people. And what I discovered was in post-traumatic growth, it's taking those negative experiences and framing them in a way that allows us to see that they happened in the past, but what did they teach us?
Oh, I love that.
If you've been through a negative experience, then you have some skills that a lot of people don't have. You have sustainability, you have optimism, you have renewed ambition, because you don't want to experience those things again. And you can also create a world around you that really allows you to take any other negative situation that comes in your life and pivot to turn it, like we talked about.
I love that. Excellent. I love that post-traumatic growth. That's what we need to think about in our lives every day, even if it's not on, again, such a high level, but thinking about it, going back to what you said earlier, what have I learned from it? Clarity breaks or outbreak sessions, breakout sessions.
After action reports.
After action reports. Tomato. Close. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Excellent. So I think we've all had pivot points in our life, and it might even be in your best interest to take out your journal and maybe mark down 3 or 4 main pivot points in your life and kind of assess what was going on. How did you adapt to that change? How did you make it through? And then the next pivot point in your life that you are going to encounter, and maybe that's right now for you, kind of assessing what worked through that previous pivot point, what didn't work, and kind of use those as a stepping stone to get through this next change. And change doesn't have to be bad. You could be ready for it. You could be wanting it.
Like you getting married, moving into a new house, having a baby, whatever it is.
Whatever it is. It could be an awesome change in your life, but you still need to learn what's going to pull you through that pivot point in your life. All right, so one of the questions that we all want to know, TedX Speaker. Yeah. Look at, whoa, wow, we're sitting next to him. But, okay, so how did you land the opportunity to be a TEDx speaker? Kind of tell us about your journey in being able to land that.
The short answer is I grabbed him by the throat and wouldn't let go.
Excellent. You put grenades in his hand. You have 15 minutes to live.
15 minutes. That's it. No, the interesting thing about TED is a lot of people don't quite know this, is that TED is a parent organization. They have 2 events a year. They're invite only, so they're bringing in Malcolm Gladwell and Tony Robbins, these big speakers, right? Shawn, one day. Under them is TEDx.
Yep.
TEDx are independently licensed events that happen all over the world.
Okay.
There's about 6 happening every day of the year on average, somewhere in the world.
Okay.
And so it makes it very available and possible for anyone with a message that's global enough to get on their stage. Now with TEDx's, they happen all over the world, like I said, so they happen in cities and in rural areas. Well, the cities usually have a lot of speakers, like Jaime, who are available, they're there, they're ready, they're known, people trust them, like them, they can get on stage and do a great job. But the ones in the rural areas, they usually have trouble sourcing people that can comfortably get on stage and speak for 18 to 20 minutes. So I began looking at those TEDx events that were happening in those outside the city areas. And I ended up finding one in Chatham, Kent, Ontario. I'd never been to Ontario before. I set my package in, and just like when you're applying for a job, you don't just blanket a resume that says, here's what I've done and kind of what I want to do, but you tailor it for that organization, that company that you're going into. So I tailored my message to the theme of their TEDx event, submitted it online, did it about 12 times to different events, TEDx events happening all over the country, and they chose me. And they said, Shawn, we like your message, it ties into our theme, come on up here and speak to us. And so now my speech is featured right alongside Stanley McChrystal and Tony Robbins and everybody else's.
Yay! Excellent. And you see, what I love about his story is it's a stepping stone. So no, he didn't go from being Shawn to literally talking with Tony Robbins at TED, right there, pushing him over.
Right, this is my show, my show.
I mean, get over. But it's about stepping stones, and it's so important for us to think realistically. Like if you want to, I don't know, it could be anything. You want to go for that MBA, or you want to be the CEO of your company. Maybe you just want to lose 30 pounds. You can't go from 0 to 30. You can't go from 0 to CEO. You have to use those stepping stones in between. And that's part of everybody's journey. Tony Robbins' journey. Everyone that's standing up on those big stages, they took those steps to get there, right? So you'll never find a better show than the Dr. Jaime Show. However, I want to be Ellen someday, okay? So for those of you producers out there, I want my own show, Ellen. Bring back.
I say overnight success is a 30-year journey.
Yes, I love that. Overnight success is a 30-year journey. So you take these little baby steps, like something like this, to venture you into something bigger and amazing. I love it, but TEDx is big and amazing, and I am so proud of you. So I have to know, okay, is it true that you have to prep like 1 trillion hours and like rehearse to make sure that you're perfect up on the stage?
How good do you want your talk to be?
Gotcha.
So I learned a lot of different ways to prepare for speeches. In the Marine Corps, one of the training courses I had to go through was actually how do you get in front of a camera and do crisis communication.
Okay.
So we would blow up an empty school, for instance, because there was just a bunch of bombs that they had stacked up in there. I had to get in front of Time and CNN and NBC and say, here's why we blew up the school for mom and apple pie, right? To be able to take that message and phrase it in a positive way. So when I began speaking professionally, I realized that I was going to have to practice a little more than that. So I structured my talks out, I memorized them as best as I could, And then when I was able to just be driving along to work or to meet somebody, I'd just be running through them in my head or saying them in the car. You know, some people sing in the shower. My wife wonders why I talk to myself because I'm rehearsing my speeches in the shower, right? And finally, when I got to the actual place where the TED Talk was happening, I realized that my preparation work was done. I could just get up there and have fun with it.
Ah, I love it. So you rehearsed, you were confident in your message. We talked about that earlier, being very confident in what you're talking. Don't talk about what you don't know,
right?
Because that will throw you for a loop, and that'll definitely give you the butterflies. So I want to know from you, did you have any butterflies in your stomach as the anticipation to get to step up on the TED stage and talk?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Something that I've learned from speakers is that everyone has little tics that they show when they're nervous. Some people put their hands in their pockets. Some people will rub their elbows. Just everyone has something weird.
Oh yeah. So
right?
if I ever do this, now you know. I don't know.
Everybody's got something when they get nervous. They do. So I realized in order to overcome it, my main one is I feel like I don't have enough oxygen when I get on stage. All the oxygen is gone because my heart rate is going so fast. I'm just burning.
Suddenly, rubbing your elbows is good.
Yeah.
Because you need air.
You actually need air. Right.
That whole thing.
So when I got on stage, before I got on stage, right, I'm on, on deck, so to speak. The steps are there, the stage is there, the other speaker is finishing his talk and leaving the stage. I began breathing really, really deeply, just filling my entire abdomen with air. So by the time I got on stage, I was hyper-oxygenated. I could hold my breath for a minute and a half. That's fine. But I knew that I wasn't going to be gasping for air as much as I knew I would otherwise.
Yeah, excellent. And I was telling Shawn, I think I've told you guys, before, so when I was doing the Venus Williams at the PBWC speaking last year, right as I was walking up on stage, I felt like I wasn't, I don't know if you can relate to this, if this is weird or not, but I felt like I wasn't there on the stage.
Sure.
Like I felt like I'm there, but I'm not there. It was very weird to explain. And I get up there and I'm like, oh my God. And then you start, you almost catch myself like overthinking it for a second. Like, and then all the content's blowing through your head and you're like, I have to start somewhere. And then I did the mindset thing, which we talked about earlier. It's the way that I'm going to react in this situation. And then, come on, girl, get it together. You're the expert. I'm literally like doing this in my head. You know this, you know this, you know this. Even if they throw you for a loop and ask you the most bizarre question, you know everything there is about work-life balance. You know everything about this topic. Don't worry about it. You got it. And I pump myself up, pump myself up, pump myself up. Drink a 5-hour energy. And then I landed it and I crushed it, but I know like it's the anticipation. Once you get up there, you know it, you're in the zone. But that anticipation, it gets me too. So.
Sure. When I plan for a trip, I find that 80% of the fun is in the planning.
Yes.
When I get ready for a speech or I'm, scheduled to speak at a keynote very soon, actually, this is the fun part for me. Because an hour on stage goes by like that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Once you get up there and you get in the zone. Okay, so one of the things that followers have mentioned to me, definitely clients have mentioned to me, is that public speaking is their greatest fear. I've heard this so many times. Do you have any tips that you can share with people out there that are like, oh my God, I could never, TEDx stage, 5,500 women, never, I can't even do it to my small group at work, my team of 5, and I know these people. Are there any tips that you can share with them to kind of encourage them to go ahead, try it, you can do it?
Sure, so there's something that we can do internally first, mindset change, so to speak, and then there's also resources that are available externally. So internally, you mentioned it before, it's speaking on topics that you're already comfortable about.
Okay.
So whatever our hobbies are, whatever you could talk about with someone until the wee hours of the morning and their head is asleep on the table and you're still going because you're so passionate about it. You love that topic so much, hiking in the woods, whatever that is, right? Bit chat, whatever it is.
Bit chat, the Dr. Jaime show, you can talk hours.
Hours about that. Those are the things to start with. Don't take a topic that you're completely unfamiliar with and try to present it to people because it's going to come off like you don't know what you're talking about. So be very, very confident in your topic, be able to speak about it because you already love it. Start there. And whether that's at work with something that you've had a lot of experience in, that's...
Right? If someone, for those of you trying to land speaking engagements, I have people reach out to me and as much as they'll give you, here's a huge chunk of money and you get to go here. If I don't know about the topic, I am so honest about it and I let them know. There's no way. I have worked so hard for my credibility. I can get up on that stage and ruin it in an instant. So there's times where you need to step back and be strong enough to say no, even though it might, you feel like you might make a buck from it, or
Right.
wow, that's a great organization, but you need to also know when to say no to something so you don't hurt your credibility.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's the internal thing. The external thing is Toastmasters, great organization. They're very inexpensive, and they're located all over the United States, all over the world. It's a group of very supportive people, usually a small group, less than 15, and they give you an opportunity to get constructive feedback on your presentation. So whether you're a professional speaker like me, or whether you're selling something, or whether you just work in an office and you have to sell ideas to other people, they're a great group to be able to actually learn the mechanics of good presentation.
Excellent. Tell us a little bit about Toastmasters. To start out with, you did something for them. You won an award.
Yeah, so they it's part of Toastmasters. They have an international speaking competition that's done every year, and you compete at the club level, the level that you would go train at every week. And you move on to the division level, the regional level. I made it all the way to the world championship of public speaking.
Where was that at?
It was in Malaysia that year in Kuala Lumpur.
Wow.
So it was me and 20 other people on the stage, and some of the best speakers that I've ever heard in my life. Short 7-minute speeches. So if you're interested in 7-minute stories, go on YouTube and look it up. It was a great experience for me to be named one of the top 20 public speakers in the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So for those people that are out there like, okay, maybe I'd give Toastmasters a try, kind of a first stepping stone. And if you're in sales, I love how you brought up sales. This could even be good for you. You don't have to be a public speaker. If you're trying to sell something, it seems like, you got to get out there and talk. Do you have to, is it like a huge group of people and you instantly have to stand up, or can you kind of sit back in Toastmasters?
You can ease your way into it.
Okay.
Yeah, and every meeting has an opportunity for someone to give up and give a prepared speech.
Okay.
So you practice your 7-minute speech in the shower, or wherever it is you practice, and you can get up there and give it to the group, and they're quiet, and they give you constructive feedback afterwards. Your hands were in your pockets, you were rubbing your elbow, whatever it is, right?
You weren't breathing.
You weren't breathing, take a breath, slow down, whatever that is. And they also have what they call table topics, where it's a random question, like, tell us about a pivot point in your personal life. And you have to be able to extemporaneously come up with something.
And he did great at that. Toastmasters, nice.
Right?
Okay, very good. I love it. So that's a resource. We talked about resources earlier. So getting out, finding resources to help you overcome hurdles. For those of you in sales, those of you in business, if you struggle with public speaking, not necessarily you want to go speak to 100 people, you just want to speak to a client. This is a resource in your community that you have access to help you. Those are the things you have to think of, very outside of the box. And I like how Shawn also said, you stand up, you do your talk, and they give you constructive criticism. If you want to grow, if you want to thrive, you have to be able to take constructive criticism. I specifically remember my dissertation, and this is the best advice I ever got. So any of you going through your program right now, your PhD program, take this advice. I had a master's program professor say to me, Jaime, when you go for your PhD and you get toward the end of it and you start your dissertation, every time you send it in, you're going to be rejected. If you fight every single edit that they make, it's going to take you forever to get through the program, and a lot of people just drop out. I took what he said, whatever, years went on, I got to the dissertation phase, and before I knew it, I was getting my dissertation back every time I sent it in. I felt so defeated. I was crying all the time. It was so hard. But I took the constructive criticism. They know what they're talking about, right? Toastmasters, the experts there, they know what they're talking about. So I would get it back, I would revise it, and then I look at it and think, wow, it did make it a little bit better. It did make it stronger. The point is conveyed better. Send it back, keep doing. And that constructive criticism, well, I got my PhD. So, you became a top world speaker. You got to be able to take that criticism and look at it from a very open-minded perspective. Take that feedback in order to platform forward. That is one of the hardest things, because when you're so passionate about your message or your topic, and someone says, ooh, you need to change it. Ooh, you need to tweak it. Oh, that's not good. It's hard to swallow that. But it could be for the better. So really taking that feedback, it's a hard thing to do, but very necessary in order to platform you forward.
I found the best people to get feedback from are those that are further along on the journey that you want to walk as well. So don't just take feedback from anybody, because they may not know what they're talking about.
Right.
But for me, and I know Jamie's a firm believer in this, to hire someone who's a coach to you, plenty of your clients are coaches, I know you probably have had coaches in your life. those are the people I ask because they're further along on the journey than I am. For those of us out there working jobs, maybe a supervisor, maybe a mentor, to be able to ask them, here's what I'm currently doing. What are your thoughts around that? How could I get better? What's your advice to help me improve? And those are the pieces of advice that you can give some serious weight to.
That is a great point. And some people I see look at those people that are ahead of them, and almost sometimes we feel jealousy or envy. Sometimes we start comparing ourselves to them. Drop all that negativity and instead say, wow, this person is where I want to be. Admit that to yourself. That's okay. I want to be there. I want to be that. And go talk to that person. Most successful people are at a point in their lives where they want to mentor or help or guide or give advice to other people and bring them up. So instead of having the negative feelings toward that person, channel that energy into reaching out for mentorship or support. And you never know what type of advice they could give you, like Dr. James, if you're watching out there somewhere, you gave me for my PhD program to help pull you forward. So be very cautious who you ask for support, but let it be someone above you, and I don't know, and solicit further feedback. Okay, all right, very good. Moving on, how are we doing on time? Okay, excellent. So we have about 9 minutes left. All right, so I want you to tell us a little bit about all of the different services you offer to businesses. You've got your book, what's on your website, and tell us a little bit about everything.
Most of us have had to sit through keynote talks that were boring as all get out, I'll be honest. A lot of them are. So the way that I help organizations in that way is I actually, being a work correspondent, have plenty of stories and action photos to be able to show people. Nice. So when I'm on stage, I'm sharing stories about the Marines, how they get the job done, and how organizations I've worked with have used those same skills and tools to increase their profitability. So keynotes is one way that I help organizations. After a keynote, though, everybody's pumped up, they're ready to go.
Oh, always.
Maybe they implement one thing in the next few months, though. Yeah. And so what I really find I love doing is seeing change actually occur in a business and in an organization. Okay. So I go in there and help them construct, like you do, the goals that they have, set milestones for achieving them, and then train people to operate in a way so they don't keep making the same mistakes they've been making for 20 years. Yeah. They build in the lessons learned, they perform at a higher level, and they actually get the job done, sometimes a quarter faster than they would have before.
You're helping them manage pivot points.
That's it.
Yeah. It's all coming together now.
It is, yeah.
Okay, all
so
right.
Keynote, speaking, writing, so a nationally syndicated journalist with the business journals. So their website is businessjournals.com. Every single week I'm releasing a new how-to article for business growth. So for those of you in business or those of you that have leaders in business, check that out. It's a free resource. Happy to share it.
What was the website again?
It was businessjournals.com.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, and they have, I'm sure if you're in a big city, they have their own version of the business journals. The Tampa Business Journal is one we have here. And then this book, which just came out on Amazon, it's a baby. It's in swaddling clothes. That's how young it is. That's just released, so hopefully that gives people a real clear-cut way to be able to take what high-performing organizations are doing around the world and implement it into their own lives and organizations.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. Tell us really quickly, before we close, of all the keynotes that you've done, what was your favorite?
Oh, good question.
Toastmasters, putting him on the spot. He needs to come with a...
Yeah. Good question. Can I take a long drive? No, the best keynote, it's a really, really fun one. I was actually speaking not to a Fortune 500 company, but it was to a group of people who were in job transition.
Ah, what was so great about that?
They were receptive. So it was taking the same things that I teach organizations about learning from your lessons, preparing in the right way so you have a higher chance for success. And I could see that these people were actually going to use it to make immediate impact on their lives. Whereas when I keynote for a Fortune 500 company, it's a sales conference, there's 1,000 other things going on, and then, by the way, an open bar. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that always, it kind of ruins the ability to retain
open
information.
Open bar first,
yeah.
Shawn second.
Yes. Yeah, I looked a lot better after a couple drinks, I promise. Yeah, so it was those people who were really interested in learning. That was one of the best ones I've done.
Yeah, I have to admit, so in the Superwoman workshops that I hold, there's this segment of the workshop where we talk about what you're going to do in the next 30 days toward your bucket list, and it's a different version of a bucket list. We're not going to get into that, but that is the most tremendous part of the workshop, because you see, they're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this happen. I want it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a way to make it happen. And you're giving them something very actionable that they're getting motivated about. It's so great to see what you can do to empower other people. I encourage all of you out there, if you have any ability, and this will be your homework for the week. If you have the ability to empower someone this week or get them motivated and excited about something, use that ability to do that. We need that. We need everybody to go around and do that. Okay, so, all right, so one more time, where can we find all of your info?
Yep, shoshinconsulting.com.
My straight line.
That's it, the very straight line.
Book, where can we buy it?
Amazon.com.
Okay, excellent. And your article that you write weekly, where do we go to see that?
Businessjournals.com, or if you Google Shawn Rhodes Business Journals, it'll come up.
Nice. Okay, so I want you to sign the book for me.
Yeah.
Live. I get a copy.
Absolutely.
I get a copy.
Okay.
I want you to sign it for me. And then while you're signing it, I also want you to dual think here what you want to leave the viewers with, like one sentence in what you want to leave them with. And it can't be, don't give irate employees grenades.
Grenades and live ammunition.
That's the common sense.
Yeah, that's just not going to work.
This is not going to work on this show today.
One piece of advice, this is my moment to shine, right?
Yes.
I would tell people that whatever it is that you think you want to accomplish in life, go out there and do it. Even if you're frightened, even if you don't think the resources are available. It's surprising how when someone is dedicated and passionate about what they do, that the universe provides for them in ways that you never would have imagined before. And that's exactly what's happened to me and all the people around me that I see that are successful.
I love it, absolutely. I love that he used universe, because it's so true. What you put out there and what you envision will come back to you. If it's the right energy, it absolutely will. So thank you for that. I love it. I'm getting my book signed. While he is signing my book, remember that if you want to be a part, if you want your business to be a part of the Alliance program, email me at dr@drjaimek.com. Next week, we have Steve Fidrich on the show. He's going to talk about overcoming depression after a tragic accident. This is going to be great for people that don't understand depression or people that are trying to overcome depression. Then we're going to have the following Friday, Sarah Krieger on the show, who is a nutritionist. We talk about all things nutrition. What diets should we totally avoid, and is there a good diet? The following Friday, that's going to be the 10th of February, already halfway through February at that point. We're going to have CJ Burnett on the show, and we are going to talk about all things money and finance. Then we're having Dwayne Spires on the 17th, who is a success guru. And then on the 24th, you might, 95% chance, see me attempt to follow my ASS as I'm learning salsa. So that'll be a funny show just to break the internet. And one thing that I wanted to share with you is reading. I've been getting so many messages from people. What are you reading, Dr. Jaime? What are you sharing? So I'm going to share it with you really quickly before we end the show. I don't know about this book. I've only 3 pages into it. Looks great, but it said beach money on the front. Who doesn't want beach money? This guy got me with this title, so if you're watching, you totally got me. Beach money, I just finished Our Iceberg is Melting, so check that one out. How to be a great boss in traction. To me, someone like I was talking to Shawn. Shawn might really benefit from traction if you're a CEO, if you're a leader. And this is kind of the cliff notes to it. How to be a great manager, how to be a great boss. So these books are awesome. And then what I wanted to read, which is going to take me probably all of 2017, I didn't realize it was so big. Can you see that? It's not the dictionary, no, it's Tools for Diet. And so that is what I am reading. But right away, before anything, we need to read Pivot Point. Everyone go to Amazon.com, support Shawn Rhodes, and purchase his newest book, Pivot Point. Happy Friday. I will see you next Friday. Adios.